said, sing much sweeter than you. And speaking of singing, folks, Yves Guillemot, did you hear this one? Apparently, people were sniffing his bum in the office, and he said, excuse me, I said, check out my office, not my orifice. But we gotta talk about this shareholder meeting that Mr. Guillemot, the CEO, held with Ubisoft shareholders and investors over the weekend, or maybe late last week, because like they say in Office Space, if you gotta give bad news, do it on a Friday so there's less fuss over the weekend. But it's about Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, almost a year later, they're still seething and coping about the failure of this Star Wars game. It's a Star Wars game. It shouldn't be a failure. And guess what? It certainly is.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
Now, if I was a shareholder with Ubisoft, I would have had a private word with Yves Guillemot on the side and say, listen, Yves, mate, come here. We've been friends for years. Can you make sure that you follow these rules right here? A really hot looking female, good gameplay, excellent graphics, no debugging, none of that stuff. Oh, but guess what? None of that happened. It was an absolute shit show. The game only sold 1 million copies. That's not even a boast. Rockstar GTA 6, when that gets released next year, and yes, I'm doing the salt and pepper shake, you'll see more of that later on. I guarantee you in the first half an hour of that game's release, it will sell 1 million straight away. No doubt about it. To quote Errol Brown in Hot Chocolate. But let's get into this story today, folks, because quite simply, Yves Guillemot, CEO of Ubisoft, is blaming Lucasfilm and Disney for the failure of Star Wars Outlaws. You really couldn't make it up.
I hate a dirty joke, I do. Unless it's told by someone who knows how to tell it.
Yes, hallelujah, it's the video show. And now, the man the BBC calls
Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog.
Honestly, when you see the breakdown of Yves Guillemot's gripes with Disney and Lucasfilm, well, I've got two things to say about this. Actually, I lie. I've got several more things to say about it. I've actually got a conspiracy theory, a brand new one, to add to the evergreen pile of conspiracy theories in my absolute pretty head. So when he was asked about the failure of Star Wars Outlaws, curiously enough, Guillemot breaks everything down by items. I kid you not. Have a look at this article and you'll see what I'm talking about. So here's what Guillemot baby had to say. It didn't reach the sales targets. Why is that, Gia? Because the game suffered from a number of items. Okay. First, it suffered from the fact that it was released at a time when the brand that it belonged to was in a bit of choppy waters. And the game had a few items. What's this item shit that still needed to be polished? He probably means assets. And they were polished and debugged in the early weeks, but it did affect sales volumes. We did heavily improve the game by troubleshooting and debugging. You're basically repeating the first point you just made, dude. And when it will be released in the upcoming consoles, such as the Switch 2, it will be the new version of the game. If you buy Switch 2, you get to play the finished product of Star Wars Outlaws on a handheld console that has an OLED screen, I believe, or if not something nearer to that, where of course the graphics of the game will look absolutely spectacular. If you've got a PlayStation Vita like I do and you play handheld games on that, they look so much more resolution sharp, razor sharp for the eyes. It's what the eyes see, right? So Guillemot why don't you bend sideways like a gay teapot and take it up the ass? Because that is the stupidest, most insane thing that you have ever said. But I added it onto the list of laundry items because you like to use the word items a lot, don't you? How peculiar and how bizarre. And Tencent, what are they doing in all of this? They're just kind of sitting back and letting everything implode from within. I think that's their plan all along. Like I said in a previous video, Tencent are the twirling moustache baddies of this piece, even though again you could argue that maybe their import in other companies hasn't done that much damage control. But Ubisoft, I have said for a long time now, in the last 10 years, they don't listen to their customers. Are we going to get a brand new Splinter Cell game? No, we're getting a remake. Are we going to get another Ghost Recon game? Yeah, we are, except it's in first person. Nobody wants that. We prefer third person. And the list goes on and on and on. Now, it does bring me to a bit of a conspiracy theory as to why companies like Ubisoft, Microsoft, Bethesda, Warner Brothers, Sony, BioWare, but to name a few, seem to be going through this brain damage, brain rot syndrome at the moment. Now, here we go again, folks, because I've got to do the gay pinch of salt. You see them sprinkles right there? I sprinkle some on my body hole as well, right there. Well, here's the thing. This is what, now, you've got to bear with me, folks. And when I say bear, don't show me your bum cheeks. Now, what it is, you've heard of the Illuminati, right? The people, 4 people in the world that control everything that goes on in society. Chaos makers, whatever you want to call them. Now, the reason why I bring that into this point today, because those video game companies I've just mentioned, they used to be great. When you got a great game, you thought, wow, this is fantastic. Bethesda, when they made great games, and yes, Bethesda, I'm still waiting for Rage 3. Because I've already got a Rage 2 t-shirt, so I want number 3. Do you understand? Yes, I know it's a garish pink, but that's all they had at the sales store, and I picked it up. But anyway, back to my point, folks. When you had these people making great games, it was the old guard making really awesome titles. When they left and activists took over, the quality then went down. Now, where am I going with all of this, you may ask? Why is Star Wars Outlaws still being talked about? Well, here's the thing. Over at EA, you had Respawn Entertainment. They gave us Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. Great mocap of the actor Cameron Monaghan as Cal Kestis, a red-headed male, a white male at that. Gameplay was good, they sold very well critically, they were very well received, and on the second game, he has a love interest with a character called Merrin, who, by some people's standards, is LGBT. Well, is she? Because in the actual game, she has a bit of a romance with Cal Kestis. But thanks to Sam Maggs, the woman who wrote a novel or two about the adventures of Merrin in Star Wars, the Outlaw universe, she's made to be queer and pansexual. Now, why do I bring that into this conversation? You're thinking, Kung Fu, where are you going with this? Well, I believe these companies have been blackmailed, or they've been told by the Illuminati to make this type of entertainment to cater for the masses, to prevent world disorder, yada yada yada. I know I'm going off trail, off the beaten track, but you've got to admit you do find it rather entertaining, don't you? And if that is the case, you should probably consider subscribing and liking this video and sharing my lunacy wherever you go. Down the street, going fishing, at the seaside, checking out babes in their peaches and their bikinis. But anyway, back to this, folks. So I do think, I mean, you can blame people like BlackRock and Larry Fink, but I'm suspecting he's been told by the Illuminati or their minions who send them out by the droves to change the way you think, because if you don't do that, we're going to get the Epstein files released where your name will suddenly appear on that list. But I didn't do anything. I was just told it was a $50 tour around a mysterious island with lots of Lolitas. I know, that usual tired excuse, isn't it, Larry Fink? But honestly, when I do see a news item like this, Yves Guillemot blaming Star Wars. He's not wrong, actually. I cannot believe I agree with the silly Frenchman right here, because he's absolutely correct. Star Wars, under the tutelage, under the watchful Sauron eye, or rather so wrong eye of Kathleen Kennedy, no one cares. Rian Johnson and that fabled Star Wars trilogy of films he was going to make, he admitted a couple of weeks ago, oh, that was just a concept. It was never going to happen, because I guess nobody liked the way he treated the characters. I mean, oh my God, I could go on and on about how Star Wars, apart from Andor, and by the way, watching the first episode of season 2 today, cannot wait to get stuck in. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you told me that was a Disney Star Wars show, I would think you're talking out of your big French behind. But yeah, the cope and the seed of Star Wars Outlaws, you know, when it was released, you got a beautiful actress. I know I keep bringing this up, put this point up, folks, but I have to do that. If I were Humbly Gonzalez, I would have made sure I had some kind of a contract, a clause in the contract that says, you capture my likeness exactly, you can improve on me in the video game. I mean, you don't get people like Margaret Qualley and Ellie Fanning worried about how they're going to look in a Hideo Kojima video game called Death Stranding 1 and 2, are you? Because they know what his pedigree of capturing people's faces are like. Again, if you captured Cameron Monaghan's face so perfectly for the Star Wars Fallen Order Jedi or Survivor games, then why didn't I'm just wondering here, why didn't Ubisoft follow that same DNA code? I guess because they got shit equipment, or they had the most inept people working for them at Ubisoft. Again, going back to my previous point, when you had the old guard of people working there and you move them on, because again, there's been so many reshuffles at Ubisoft when it concerns getting rid of the middle-aged, much more experienced older staff and bringing in younglings who have nothing but inexperience, then of course you end up with a very shit and shoddy product. But on that one, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and kneel 3 times to the power of Zod, and then afterwards turn to your left or your right and bury your face in a pair of virtual reality bosoms. I will catch you catching me for the return of the next video.
I'm actually crying.
You will see that Skull and Bones is a fully fledged game, he said. It's a very big game, and we feel that people will really see how vast and complete that game is. It's a really full triple, quadruple A game that will deliver in the long run.
Wait, don't play if...